Hope you're doing good. Micah back with another video. Back here to talk about WWDC 24 and all the highlights that we finally got from Apple in regards to iOS 18, iPadOS 18, macOS 18 or 15, macOS 15, watchOS 11, and Apple Intelligence, or in other words, AI. yes, yes, they really went with Apple Intelligence. I actually couldn't believe it myself. I couldn't believe it myself that they went with Apple Intelligence. And ChatGPT is built into Apple now. So, wow. They really went with it. It flowed pretty well. It felt like they actually were kind of speeding through a lot of the software updates so they could really get to the Apple Intelligence section of the event. But nonetheless, we're going to try to crunch this down and condense it as much as possible for you guys to save you guys time and energy as we talk about the first thing, which is iOS 18 and freedom. In the words of Dave Ramsey, we can finally fully customize our home screens. So we have freedom in terms of app placement on our home screens. We also have the ability to, I don't know, he showed it off briefly, but I think we already had it. It's like this is a smoother transition between the lock screen and our notification center and our home screen. And we can actually theme the color of our icons, our app icons. Now, specifically, it's really the icon within the icon. So the the app itself will be either light mode or dark mode now, because we also have dark mode icons. And that center icon of that emoji is what actually changes color. So if you want red, you can have red. If you want, blue, you can have blue, yellow. The list goes on. They finally gave us that form of customization for our iPhones. And this spans across to the iPads as well. So the iPads have the same level of customization. We also have Control Center, also got major revamps and updates. And again, Apple's really going in that level of customization. And Control Center even has an area that's called the new control gallery, which allows you to be able to plug and play the actual control center modules you want in your control center. So instead of having to go all the way to settings to rearrange and regroup your control center settings, you can actually now basically do that real time within the control center. I think that is perfect. Just like we can change our widgets in the corner and whatnot, having that ability for the control center, I think, makes way more sense. That way you can see what it looks like. You can change the sizing of your control center settings, the modules. You can change the sizing of them. And now that this is available to developers, many different apps may be able to use the control center, which may make it way more convenient for us when operating our iPhones and iPads. So this spans across those two devices, and thank you so much for just being able to space things out differently and have new things. I guess for the most part, a part of our home screen is very nice, and to see that come down to the control center as well is exactly what we were hoping. Something that was part of my predictions or wish list on my iOS 18 video that I did a little while ago. No new operation in terms of like the side screen that we have, or the side page, whatever you want to call it. They didn't really talk about that. So maybe there'll be something down the line for that in iOS 19 maybe. But those are like the biggest things in terms of the home screen, app freedom placement, app icon color adjustments and customization, and the control center. Now, jumping into apps a little bit further, now we can lock the apps, meaning you can actually lock an app and you can hide the app in a hidden folder. And in order to access either one, you will need some form of biometric authentication, where it's either your Touch ID if it's an older iPad, or even one of the new iPads, right? Like the iPad Mini, I guess, 2021, or your Face ID. So, or maybe password, but I think it's more biometric based. And so that's also nice to see Apple bringing that level of, if not customization, an additional layer of security for our iPhones and iPads, being able to do that by hiding apps, hiding photo. Well, you can already hide photos within the Photos app, but being able to see that more granular control over privacy and security with our apps and to be able to hide them in folders, I think is pretty nice. Messages got a ton of new basically features, which also is included with the Apple Intelligence aspect of it. And I think I'll talk about that portion a little bit later in the video. But in terms of messages, Messages has new tap back features. So now you can actually, like Android already had within Google Messages, you can now press and hold and react with any kind of emoji on a message. And going further, you can schedule text messages, and text formatting allows you to format text messages with striking out words or characters, italicizing certain words, emboldening certain other words, all within the same text message. And you can emphasize specific words within the text message. So it doesn't have to be the entire text message that you slam, right? If you press and hold on the send button to change your screen effect, you can actually animate certain words and emojis per word in the text message. So you can get real creative. You might spend 5 minutes on one text message just to emphasize a point in 5 to 6 different ways. I like that they brought that to the iPhone because it's about time they did. And it's really making you put into perspective the lead that Android once had with Apple when it came to these layers of customization, and how Android has really kind of stagnated and took advantage of this gap that they had. And Apple, all they had been doing with like the last 3 updates, 4 maybe, iOS 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, has been significantly closing that gap with each new layer and level of customization. So it's pretty interesting to see how Apple has not only caught up, but in certain ways potentially may have surpassed or have improved on those tap back capabilities or those messaging functionality capabilities for us as users to use. So it's kind of scary to see Android really slip in this way, and for Apple to really hone in on how to make this appropriate for their iPhone-based users, which also includes iPads, because Messages is the same there as well. So you have the same capabilities on your iPads with Messages. And you can also message via the satellite when off the grid. And of course, everything continues with end-to-end encryption,
including an option for larger icons on the home screen, RCS messaging support,
the Mail app, which now has categories, and that allows, emails to categorize by description. So, maybe you have flight info, that might be a category. You might have shopping, that might be a category. And it will, through machine learning, auto categorize, or you can just check everything in the all mails category, or I believe you can also create your own categories. Now, for me personally, on the Mac OS side, I color code my messages. So emails I get from specific emails, I will get them color coded, and that's kind of how I categorize in my big email list. I wonder, they didn't quite mention whether this was coming to Mac OS. I wouldn't be surprised. And I think on Mac OS, you might be able to categorize anyway. Yeah, you can. You can create smart folders or and all that kind of jazz. So to see this functionality come down to the iPhones and the iPads is very, very significant, because it gives another layer of professional control over our apps like Mail. The next thing is tap to cash. So now you can take your phone and tap another phone, iPhone, and you can send cash that way. Takes advantage of that NFC functionality, that, again, another aspect of Android that was very big in the beginning of Android and disappeared when it came to NFC tapping. Apple is finding more useful ways to do it and bringing it to more present day use, and not just a feature that fell by the wayside. So again, it's another area that you see, or that we see, I see. Event tickets also has a new redesign. Journal has some redesign capabilities. You're able to access some more of your journal entries, and there's a search function, so that way you can actually search through your journal entries. So if you've done a lot of journaling, now you can search for certain things. And the look, it has been slightly overhauled. Still not everything I was quite expecting for the Journal app, but it is nice to see that one major update later, after it was introduced with iOS 17, in iOS 18, they are making use of upgrading and improving the Journal app. I journal here and there. If something significant happens, I journal. I used to journal a lot back when it first came out. I don't take the time to do it, but I think I will with these new features, and I might do so anyway just to see just how well that search function works for journal. Game mode improves gameplay, improves AirPods and controller connections or connectivity, limits notifications to improve frame rates. So with the iPhones and iPads and the Macs getting more sophisticated to play better, higher quality games, bringing these capabilities to the iPhone and iPad so that way you can play your games undisturbed and play the game very fluid and smooth is something that we also want to see from Apple, because again, you need that if you're going to game. To see the iPhones and iPads, for that matter, and macOS, but we'll talk about that a little bit later as well, really kind of start jumping into the gaming space, I wouldn't be surprised if Apple maybe tries to drop some game edition piece of hardware to really capitalize the gaming industry movement when it comes to mobile gaming. So something I just thought I'd throw out there, you know what I'm saying? That is game modes. And then photos. Photos got a super large redesign. Now you basically get all your photos right in front of your face. But I think if you swipe up or if you change your category, one of the two, they displayed it. There's I even read it right here. You know, you got your single view with all the photos with categories listed below, such as like people and pets, adventures, you know, traveling, you know, etc. And then you have your dated photos, which is moved to the bottom. So at the very bottom, you have your, you know, you can scroll by day, week, month. And I think maybe if you pick one of those options, then you have another category that jumps on top of the photos. And that's where you can see like your favorites and a carousel list of photos that you can see, and even pinned collections, or you can pin collections yourself. And then autoplay of videos at the top and the view by day. So, you know, if you have videos, they can autoplay. I believe you could probably turn that function off, or hopefully you can. You can filter photos. So, you know, trying to search for things with machine learning and Apple Intelligence, you'll be Siri and or your phone itself should be able to locate something that you filter to search for, and or if you ask Siri to locate something, it will locate it. But again, we'll get to Apple Intelligence a little bit later. Speaking of, if you have AirPods in, Siri has been improved to understand head movement. So if Siri's speaking to you, you can nod your head or shake your head, and Siri will understand what you're doing to then be answered by your physical response as opposed to verbal response. So I like that improvement to AirPods and with Siri itself. Siri got a big overhaul as well with this update through WWDC, and it's definitely good to see. Siri's got a new look now and has a new edge lighting when you activate Siri to talk to it. So that's pretty nice to see that Apple hasn't given up on Siri for their Apple devices, but to also notice and see how they're trying to make it more visually appealing as well when dealing with Siri, because now you may want to talk to Siri just to see the animations. I know I do. I like the new animations that they have for Siri. Take calls anywhere with voice isolation to improve voice and call quality. So something like this you see with like Samsung phones have, like with mic mode, you can, you know, focus on voice, or, you know, some form of voice isolation there. You have clear calling with Google Pixel devices, and Apple with the with the iPhones already have a voice type of isolation feature, but to see that be able to be doubly or doubly improved upon is also definitely good to see, because again, when taking phone calls, not that they're already really good in the Apple ecosystem, but it's also good to see them just stay steady improving on that. So that way, if you're in a crowded, louded section and you're trying to talk to somebody, they can still hear you, and you can of course still hear them. And then, as I said, improve gaming latency for more immersive listening experiences, and spatial audio is also starting to come for certain games that will take advantage of your AirPods. I would imagine AirPods Max as well, to be more immersed in your video game when you turn your head and stuff like that. I prefer just really, really good surround sound, because I turn that aspect of spatial audio off. I don't care for head tracking, but if you could give me some good noises from over here on the left and the right, and maybe at my 7 o'clock or at my 5 o'clock, like that's what we talking about now. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully that's something that they're bringing with that spatial audio. We have Apple TV has now Insight, which is similar to Prime Video, where if you're watching a movie or TV show, if you press up or pause a movie, there's a new section at the bottom that's called Insight. If you click on it, it will give you the actors and actresses and the music that's being played within the content. So I like the fact that they're bringing that. I think Netflix needs to bring that as well. Every original platform needs to bring that, at least for their original content, even if it doesn't necessarily quite work for all the content because it's probably a large database. It definitely at least has to work for the originals content that they provide. And it's good to see that Apple has now brought that with Apple TV, because Apple TV is a serious platform. I enjoy Apple TV. Candace enjoys Apple TV. They have good content on there. And so now if you're curious about an actor and actress and are they in anything else on Apple TV, because most likely they might be, right? Like now you have that at your fingertips in real time. So good job on Apple bringing that to Apple TV Plus. And then you have enhanced dialogue. Thank you. Oh my goodness. About time. And what does it do? With machine learning, it helps for even greater vocal clarity, subtitles more convenient, and will pop up at the right time. So in other words, I think you could turn it on while watching something and you will hear the vocal dialogue boost. And that's what we need in this day and age, because with the way they film content now in general, it's more about sound effects and audio design from that perspective than the actual words that the people are saying. And in visuals, they added 21:9 projector support. So, there's a lot of thin phones, maybe flip phones. Flip phone might be 21:9, if not maybe 22:9. But good, you get more of a widescreen look with the projector support. So that's definitely good for Apple TV Plus there. Now we're going to jump into watchOS 11. But before we do, if you guys haven't already, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, notification bell. It's all free. That way it's our videos, so you and I can sit back, check, see what's cracking. Don't forget that super things button down there by the like and dislike button, Cash App and PayPal, and check the channel out for all the videos available to you. That's way to keep tech fresh and alive on this channel. Now let's get back into the video. And watchOS 11 is bringing some small things. Training mode is a new feature being added to the watch, to the Apple Watches. This will track intensity with a scale to track effort, and with duration of the workout, this will calculate your training. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that gets improved over time. I like the fact that you can also kind of gauge how you worked out, and then for the duration, it will let you give you some insight as to some things you could take advantage of, some ideas such as maybe resting, increase your rest breaks, maybe stuff like that. So it's good to see that they're still finding ways to improve fitness with the Apple Watch. You can customize the summary tab in the health app, so you can move all your little modules around. The health app specifically, vitals app now exists, and this is important health metrics, weekly tracking outside of your typical range will provide notifications to you. And if you have multiple categories of health outside of range, it will also notify you. So that's also good to see there. And then for those pregnant, the health app will also provide insight when it comes to pregnancy. Smart Stack got some improvements. Dictate to see and hear messages, additional support for workouts. Other apps will have access to show stacks, developers, and then Sprout Baby Tracker access can now be used with Smart Stack. And watch faces, because of a redesigned photos, you can now with machine learning pick photos that will work in tandem with the clock to provide a new unique watch face for you for your Apple Watch. So a lot of background, foreground playing, depth of field, that type of stuff, overlaying, all that kind of stuff is now accessible with the Apple Watch. It's going to be interesting to see all the Apple Watches that can take watchOS 11 and the features that can go to those watches, because I know the SE first generation that I have is starting to slide when it comes to a lot of these features, which means I'll finally have to update and get an Apple Watch series maybe 9, or I would like an Ultra 2, because that'll be like my digital G-Shock. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking of classic timepieces. But it's going to be interesting to see what watches actually get these capabilities when watchOS 11 arrives later this year. iPadOS gets all those home screen, control center photos, customizations that the iPhone gets, but it also now has a tab bar across several apps. And this tab bar is basically something that moves in between like the top of the app, and it slides very smoothly and fluidly, as they say. Most likely it will, because Apple's animations are pretty smooth. But it'll slide from like the top it's like a floating bar at the, look at the top of the app when you're in it. But then like if you need to access settings or something like that on the left, or if you want to move it out the way, which I believe you can drag it or whatever, and it'll shoot over to the side as your left settings kind of panel that we already have to date with our apps. So it's a nice little small, but very, I would say maybe interesting improvement to iPads, because, when you think of touch and you think of, being able to access information as fast as possible on a big screen, you do like the fact that, okay, so I can operate it in two different sections without having to jump out of the app and go into settings and this, that, and a third. Or like if I want to access something specific, it's probably easy from the floating bar as opposed to having to shoot it over to the side and then pick something. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out and how that grows over time. But that is an official new feature for iPadOS 18. You have refined animations across the apps, new screen sharing capabilities, freeform adds scenes, and the calculator app is finally here with some very, very interesting additions. They've really thought out the calculator app for the iPad in terms of being able to utilize the screen size, so you get more of a scientific calculator. And now you have math notes, and with the Apple Pencil, you can basically do math equations, write them out, and the calculator app will solve them after you write it. So if you write the equation, like even let's think of PEMDAS, right? If you do your, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, so you got parentheses, you got 6 plus 3 in there, and then you have a plus on the outside of that. 3, well, 6 plus 3 equals 9, and plus 3 equals 12. Once you write it out in the math notes, it will solve it for you and put 12 there. So that's pretty cool and interesting to see that. And this is also like square rooting and stuff like that. So the equation that you break down in math notes, it will solve. Now I wonder if it goes like skyrocketing high to like calculus and trigonometry and physics and that'd be interesting if they added that. Maybe that only the iPad Pro or something like that could handle those kind of number crunching. That would be interesting. But math notes, being able to have that functionality, especially with the Apple Pencil, and then for the math notes capabilities to be in notes as well, is ultra supreme, because you don't have to necessarily only do it in the calculator app, but it's like, why not? But you can also do it in the notes app. Maybe if you're just doing general note taking, or you don't need the calculator per se, and you're just writing stuff out, you have the math notes functionality built into the notes app now with iPadOS 18, and I would imagine iOS 18 as well, which would be interesting if the calculator app, all that functionality does come to the iPhone, because we don't use Apple Pencils. Will math notes be part of notes and the calculator app in iOS 18? That's actually a good question. It will be for iPadOS 18, but actually I don't know if it will for iOS 18. Interesting to hear, to say the least. And then speaking of notes, you have Smart Script now, which improves the appearance of your writing with machine learning. So if you're writing something, it may not correct and be perfect, but it might just tweak it a little bit so it looks a little more, neat and legible. And then, as I said, math notes functions are there. Spell check still works. Tap and hold with pencil to like help space your words out and stuff like that, so you can kind of proofread and whatnot with your note taking there. And then you can scratch out with the pencil to erase stuff. So good to see that the Apple Pencil continues to gain support when it comes to writing. I think that the Apple Pencil paired with the iPad Mini is probably like the perfect sweet spot, and that's something I would definitely look to try and achieve, to bring that to the channel and try to showcase some of that, because I'm definitely interested in the iPad Mini for sure with the Apple Pencil. That's actually fire, and hopefully those functionalities is for all the Apple Pencils and not just the Apple Pencil Pro. So that's something to keep in mind there as well. Mac OS 15 is called Mac OS Sequoia. All right, so nice. We're back to the trees. And then continuity has improved. So now you can mirror your iPhone. It's called iPhone mirroring. So you can see and control your iPhone on your MacBook or on your Mac. And you don't have to even have your iPhone unlocked and around you. Your iPhone can be sitting on the charger, locked away, sleep. And you can mirror your iPhone on your Mac and do it and act as though you have the iPhone in your hand. Yes, I said it. So you can use your Mac keyboard to type on the iPhone through the mirroring. You can share and select stuff and use Twitter through your iPhone on your Mac. You can do all that fun stuff. Send photos and videos all through your Mac using iPhone mirroring. So your iPhone will be pushing the stuff out. You're just operating it basically virtually. That is actually pretty fire. I like that a lot. It's good to see that here. It's basically like the iPhone sidecar, if you will, if that's a great way to think about it. But I like that. I would definitely try to use that because, like, let's say I create a short on my MacBook. Now I have the capabilities to mirror my iPhone, jump into YouTube on my iPhone, and then upload the video as a short via my iPhone, and then tweak the settings and whatnot if I needed to on my iPhone, or even use my iPhone's YouTube Studio app to then do my more, my my SEO, my tags, my title, add my thumbnail, stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see just how far we will be willing to take the mirroring of the iPhone on the Mac, because I'm definitely excited to try to do that with my Mac. You know what I'm saying? And my iPhone. What else does macOS bring? Well, macOS also brings tile windows with corner snapping. So now you can snap 4 separate tiles or windows into the corners, right? So they added that. Keyboard shortcuts also will help with this. Screen record allows for more specific choices to record. So if you want to record specific windows or tiles, you can do that now natively. I still think that it seems like they have a long way to go with the operation of your windows and tiles when it comes to their computers, but it is what it is. Calls have better background blur. So in terms of like your video calls and whatnot, they have better background blur. And Keychain was talked about, which is basically Apple's, privacy and security features for your passwords. Passwords app now exists, and all your passwords will fill into the passwords app. And if you use autofill whenever you create passwords and whatnot, it will be in that passwords app, and this will be shared across all your Apple devices. So it's pretty much kind of like no different than what things are now. You just have an actual app for your password. So if you want to go in there and look for a password, because maybe you do have like an Android device or a device that's not connected to your Apple ID, and they didn't say nothing about Apple account. So interesting to say the least there. I didn't hear nothing about an Apple account, but now you can basically extract that password, send it to your other device or whatever, so that way you can fill it in on that end, so that way you don't have to worry about your being lost in translation with your passwords or jumping through hoops to find your passwords, because now we have a native individual app. So shout out to Keychain there. Safari, they highlighted 4 more hours of battery when streaming video on Chrome. So they had some Chrome enhancements and improvements there, optimizations. Let's see, private browsing is actually private. They highlighted that. And then now there's a highlights feature, which is kind of like Summarize low key from Google and Samsung, but machine learning helps find the relevant information from the website or searches that you do. Summarize, as I just mentioned, is also available in Reader, and then it can essentially kind of sort of give you the highlights of websites that you're surfing. So if you don't want to read the whole long article, you can use highlights or summarize and get the relevant information you need. So it's going to be interesting to see how Apple does it versus how like Samsung does it, because that's my great go-to right now, because I do use Samsung Summarize quite often when I'm browsing the internet for information. I'm interested to see what it's going to look like here. Now, it is in Safari, which means I would imagine it's going to span across all Apple devices as well, not just the Mac. So that's going to be interesting to see there. And then Viewer also improves the video experience on the web. So you have web videos playing, it will definitely highlight the video better for you, give you your controls, your playback controls better, and you can even like isolate it, I guess, in some way, shape, or form. So they're improving your viewing experience of videos when you're web surfing with Safari. So that's good to see there. And then gaming or some form of game mode basically is existing for the Macs as well, when more games are coming to the Mac, such as like Control, shout out to 505 and Remedy, Baldur's Gate 3, Assassin's Creed, I believe Mirage and Shadows is coming to the Mac. So Apple's taking gaming seriously. It's going to be interesting to see their play when it comes to gaming. Now, Lord have mercy. I told you I'm trying to condense this as best as I can. I didn't even. So what else do we have when it comes to Apple? We have Apple Intelligence. It understands and creates languages and simplifies use across apps and devices. So now you have priority notifications on your iPhones, and I would imagine your iPads and your Macs, where now you, through machine learning and Apple Intelligence, now artificial intelligence, Apple Intelligence, It will highlight notifications that you probably care about most and prioritize them and give you a box. So it's basically going to look like, I think, in my opinion, it's going to look like your summary notifications. So you might have like three different kind of groups of organized notifications, right? You have a box for priority, you have a box for summary, unless in summary gets booted out for priority. So you're going to have two separate boxes, and I think priority even has a slight color tint to it. And then you're going to have all your notifications that fall by the wayside under all that. So hopefully notifications doesn't get like messy or cluttered as it kind of already is now. Hopefully this will bring some levity to that. And if not, just go into certain apps that you don't need notifications from, turn them off. And then that way you can actually limit that or put them in summary so that way they all just get boxed in one area. You can do that too. New writing tools can rewrite, proofread text and email. So in other words, you can literally kind of like rewrite your email, proofread it, spell check it. I think to some degree there's smart replies because of these new writing tools. And this is applied across all their stuff. So notes, mail, messages, like it has this functionality now where there's some more thought being put in from the phone's perspective to kind of help you out with whatever your message you're trying to send to somebody, be that an email or text message, right? So pretty interesting to see that there. You can create original images, improve people identifying in your photos, and send images of these people to them for events, praise, etc. They use the example of calling your mom a super mom, and then like the AI or Apple Intelligence will like create an image of your mom in a Superman outfit, basically. So with it understanding what their mom looks like and or her emoji, it will form an image that you can create. And I believe you can even create videos with these same images and then send it to them. So you're like, oh, mom, you're a super mom. That text message, it basically will analyze and like give you an option to create a picture or an image, and you can send that to them. Or like they use like birthday references. So I'm sure holiday themed images will be a no problem for the machine learning and AI to understand and implement for you. So that's good to see there. That's kind of cool because I am interested to see how that looks. How does that go? How far can it go? For sure. And then improved contextual conversation and personal context when asking Siri something. So as I mentioned before in the Photos app, with like filters and stuff like that, if you ask Siri to be like, hey, show me a picture of me when I was wearing my red hoodie shirt, it's going to, or it should be able to really quickly bring that image up for you. And if you say in that same breath, sharpen that, make that image pop or make it pop, it will also edit the photo for you and then display to you the results, and it's up to you to tweak further or just accept it and do with it what you please. So Apple Intelligence is really looking to assist you and take a lot of tasks off your hands. And this is where I'm like, wow, we're really starting to get into the future when it comes to like movies and TV shows where it's like people are almost lazy. Like they don't know how to operate nothing because they just rely on something else doing it for them. So it's like there's a good and bad there. I think this is relatively balanced. Like it's cool because sometimes you may not have time to edit something, and a lot of times people might just use the auto enhance anyway and let the phone or device automatically edit their image. So to see that you can do that all in like one sentence or break it down into two and Siri to understand contextually what you're saying and execute, it's something that we've been asking Siri to do for a very long time anyway. So it's good to see that it is now here being able to be done and applied with Siri and Apple Intelligence. What else do we have going on? On-device processing is aware of personal data without keeping personal data. And then, of course, you have control over the data that you wanted to use and access. So if you need additional power, it will reach the private cloud to get some more of that power. And then that's it. And it's private. So everything's private. Apple can't see nothing. So it's good to hear that they're not trying to siphon out information anyway, unless you're giving them permission to do, some of that with like advertisements and stuff like that. But Apple has been emphasizing that they don't know what's going on. They don't know your data, right? They have these tools created to give you help and to have fun with AI and process and all that, but they don't know the data that's going in and out. Rest assured, our stuff is safe and secure from prying eyes. Genmoji is something new now. So Genmoji will generate an emoji based off of what you said in a message or whatever and create an emoji for that. And then it can also, I believe, create a video. And then let me just go ahead and read it. Yep. With context, create Genmojis of people and send them to them. You can do that. Image Playground can create images in seconds and will be in the Messages app. Theme, and then you can theme out your images. And Image Playground will be an app itself as well, where you can go in there and play around and create stuff and then be able to use them across your apps in your Apple ecosystem. So the fact that they created another one called Genmoji this time, wow. Memoji, Genmoji. Apple's coming up with the terms. That's all I can say. But it's interesting to see that aspect come where you basically have your own GIF creator if you want it as well. You don't have to use Jiffy anymore, this and the third, if you just want, artificial images. And you can probably use Memojis in conjunction with Genmoji. And with the features I highlighted before with Apple Intelligence being able to contextually understand a message and create an image, it might be using Image Playground to do that. So it's pretty interesting to see that. And that means they definitely had to have beefed up, again, the ability to understand and read your contact faces and know who they are and understand it. So when you're referencing people, or, it knows that face and can generate an image. So that part to me is actually kind of exciting, because that makes it easier to search for photos if you are looking for something specifically, but then also to see how creative the phone can be or your device can be in creating an image that you might actually find suitable to send or to be playful with your friends and family. So that's pretty interesting to see there. With with Apple Pencil, there's called Image Wand, which will be in your palette of tools. And you can create an image for you based off what you circled or sketched. So maybe you already drew some, you circled around it. It will populate or give you an option to tweak that. So interesting to see that the wand also has some abilities via the Apple Pencil. And ChatGPT will be built into Siri and system-wide writing tools like Compose. So text message, emails, you writing stuff up, you can actually give ChatGPT permission to assist with information that you're dealing with. And again, you have the access or the capabilities to give it permission or not. But to see that Apple built ChatGPT into Siri now, or into Apple Intelligence, is in a way kind of mind-boggling, because that means that they really was going there. I guess we thought it would have been Google, but to see ChatGPT being the brains, it's pretty interesting. I give Apple their credit for that one. And then speaking of on-screen awareness, will allow Siri to understand a command based on what's on the screen. So maybe there's an address on the screen in the text message thread, and you say, add this to my maps or add this to my calendar. It will know to pull and extract that specific, address or date out, and then schedule, if that's what you were talking about, probably give it a title for you and everything. So it's good to see that Siri is now starting to become like Google Assistant. That more or less has kind of been left behind for Gemini, but it's good to see that aspect coming in, because Gemini really is the competitor in this space, and not necessarily even Google Assistant. Gemini is a competitor against Apple Intelligence and all these new features and processing and machine learning that we're talking about today when it comes to Apple. And last but not least, in-app actions will allow very specific actions and even edit based off that action. So as I mentioned that before, when it comes to Siri being able to be vocal about something very specific and to run all those actions through each and every app. If this is really true, this is really going to be game changer for us and Apple and how we really use our devices, because this is stuff that actually works, that you will feel comfortable using as well. And that wraps up the WWDC 24, at least for me anyway. Hopefully you guys appreciated and enjoyed it. Let me know if you're excited for iOS 18, iPadOS 18, watchOS 11, macOS 15, or macOS Sequoia, the Apple Intelligence, right? The new Genmoji features, the new theme customizations we're going to be able to have at our fingertips, because I'm so excited for dark mode themes or dark mode themed icons, because I'm thinking about several different wallpaper sets that I can put together that will take advantage of dark themed icons. And then, I have my light themed icon. So I can, woo, you see, I'm thinking about it now. But the comment section is open for discussion. But again, as always, you guys haven't already, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, so I'll free that with some videos so you and I can sit back, check, see what's cracking. And don't forget to hit that super thanks button down there by the like and dislike button, Cash App and PayPal, and check the channel out for all the videos available to you. That's where to keep tech fresh and alive on this channel. It's your man Micah signing out to the next video. I'm loving my MacBook. Wait for